October 21st, 1600. Thick fog blankets the valley at Sekigahara, a strategic crossroads in central Japan, where the Nakasendo Highway cuts through mountains. 160,000 samurai stand frozen in the mist, unable to see friend or enemy. The Eastern Army, commanded by Tokugawa Ieyasu, faces the Western Army led by Ishida Mitsunari. Both sides know what's at stake. This isn't just another battle in Japan's century-long warring states period. This is the battle, the one that will decide who rules Japan for the next 250 years. As dawn breaks and fog lifts around 8 a.m., commanders see the forces arrayed against them. The bloodiest 6 hours in Japanese history are about to begin. By 2 p.m., one side will be annihilated, an empire will be born, and the course of Japanese civilization will change forever. 2 years earlier, everything seemed stable. Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the peasant who rose to unify Japan, died in September 1598 after completing what 3 generations of warlords couldn't achieve, ending the warring states' chaos and bringing every daimyo under one authority. But Hideyoshi's heir was 5-year-old Toyotomi Hideyori, far too young to rule. Hideyoshi appointed 5 regents to govern until the boy came of age, hoping collective leadership would prevent any single man from seizing power. The most powerful regent was Tokugawa Ieyasu, the richest daimyo in Japan, controlling vast territories in the east, commanding the strongest army, possessing the deepest political cunning. Within months of Hideyoshi's death, Ieyasu began consolidating power through strategic marriages, political alliances, and land deals. The other regents watched with growing alarm. Was Ieyasu protecting the Toyotomi legacy or replacing it? Ishida Mitsunari saw the danger clearly. A brilliant administrator who'd served Hideyoshi for decades, Mitsunari believed Ieyasu was betraying everything Hideyoshi built. He rallied Toyotomi loyalists, powerful clans like the Mori, the Ukita, the Shimazu, into what became the Western Army. These weren't rebels. They were legitimists defending the rightful heir against Ieyasu's power grab. Mitsunari secured 80,000 troops and the moral high ground. He controlled Osaka Castle where young Hideyori lived. He commanded the loyalty of families who'd fought alongside Hideyoshi for decades. On paper, the Western cause looked strong, but Mitsunari had a fatal weakness. Many daimyo hated him personally. His administrative brilliance came with arrogance. He'd made enemies, and Ieyasu knew exactly how to exploit that. In July 1600, Ieyasu marched his army north toward Aizu to suppress a rebellious daimyo. It was a feint. He was drawing Mitsunari's attention away from his real plans. On September 1st, Ieyasu learned Mitsunari was raising an army in the west. His troops immediately reversed course, marching toward the inevitable confrontation. For 6 weeks, both sides maneuvered across central Japan, securing castles, gathering allies, positioning forces. Ieyasu moved with devastating speed, capturing Gifu Castle and cutting off Mitsunari's supply lines. By October 20th, Mitsunari realized he'd been outmaneuvered. He retreated to Sekigahara Valley, occupying high ground on surrounding mountains. It was a strong defensive position. His troops held the heights. Ieyasu's forces would have to attack uphill. If Mitsunari's allies coordinated properly, they could crush the Eastern Army in a perfect encirclement. But Ieyasu had spent weeks working his most dangerous weapon, betrayal. His agents approached wavering daimyo with offers, land grants, forgiveness for past offenses, promises of power in the new order. The most crucial target was Kobayakawa Hideaki, a 23-year-old commanding 15,600 troops positioned on Mount Matsuo overlooking the battlefield. Officially, Kobayakawa belonged to the Western Army. Secretly, he'd agreed to switch sides. Other commanders, Kikawa Hiroi, of the powerful Mori clan, Wakisaka Yasuharu, Ogawa Suketada, made similar deals. They would watch the battle unfold, waiting for the decisive moment to betray their allies. Mitsunari knew some daimyo were unreliable. He didn't know how many, or when they'd strike. At 8 a.m., the fog lifts. Naomasa, commanding Ieyasu's vanguard, charges without orders, smashing into Ukita Hide's western forces. The battle explodes across the valley. 30,000 men clash in the center, sword against sword, spear against spear, arquebus fire crackling across the field. The Western Army fights brilliantly. Shima Sakon, Mitsunari's best general, coordinates attacks that push the eastern forces back. Otani Yoshitsugu holds the southern flank against overwhelming pressure. The Shimazu clan refuses to advance but stands firm. For 3 hours, the Western Army holds. They're winning. Then at 11 a.m., Mitsunari lights a signal fire. The prearranged command for Kobayakawa to descend from Mount Matsuo and attack the Eastern Army's rear. Victory is within reach. Kobayakawa doesn't move. Ieyasu watches Mount Matsuo with growing fury. His entire strategy depends on Kobayakawa's betrayal. If the young daimyo stays loyal to Mitsunari, the Eastern Army will be crushed. Around noon, Ieyasu makes history's great gamble. He orders his arquebusiers to fire directly at Kobayakawa's position on the mountain. The bullets aren't meant to kill. They're a message. Choose now. Betray Mitsunari or become my enemy. Kobayakawa hesitates. His troops watch the battle raging below. Then he makes his decision. His 15,000 samurai charge down the mountain, not at the Eastern Army but at Otani Yoshitsugu's western forces. The betrayal is devastating. Otani's troops, already fighting desperately, are attacked from behind by their supposed allies. Otani realizes immediately what's happened. The battle is lost. He commits seppuku on the battlefield rather than face capture. Once Kobayakawa betrayed, the dominoes fall. Wakisaka switches sides. Ogawa attacks his former allies. The 16,000 Mori troops stationed on Mount Nangu, who could have saved the Western Army, refused to move because their commander Kikawa Hiroi had secretly promised Ieyasu neutrality. The western center collapses. Mitsunari's carefully prepared defensive position becomes a death trap. Eastern troops pour through gaps in the line. The Shimazu clan, seeing disaster, executes a legendary fighting retreat, charging directly through the Eastern Army towards safety, losing 80% of their men, but protecting their lord. Konishi Yukinaga and Ukita Hide fight brilliantly but are overwhelmed. By 2 p.m., it's over. The Western Army is destroyed. Thousands lie dead in Sekigahara Valley. Mitsunari escapes the battlefield but is captured days later at Mount Ibuki. On November 6th, he's paraded through Kyoto in a cage alongside other Western leaders before being beheaded. Ieyasu acts swiftly to consolidate victory. He confiscates 87 domains from defeated daimyo, redistributing lands worth over 6 million koku of rice annually. Loyalists are rewarded. Enemies are crushed. Neutral clans that failed to support him are punished. The Mori clan, despite Kikawa's secret deal, loses most of its territory. The Shimazu are allowed to keep their lands in recognition of their courageous retreat. Within 3 years, Ieyasu receives the title of shogun from the emperor, formally establishing the Tokugawa Shogunate. He moves the capital to Edo, modern Tokyo, building a government that will rule Japan until 1868. The Battle of Sekigahara lasted 6 hours and killed an estimated 30,000 men. It ended 150 years of civil war. It unified Japan under Tokugawa rule. It established the rigid social hierarchy, samurai, farmers, artisans, merchants, that would define Japanese culture for centuries. It began the Sakoku period of isolation, closing Japan to foreign influence until American warships forced the country open in 1854. Every aspect of Edo-period Japan, from samurai codes to kabuki theater, from ukiyo-e woodblock prints to haiku poetry, emerged from the peace Sekigahara created. One battle, 6 hours, 160,000 samurai, one calculated betrayal, and Japan's future was decided through bloodshed in a foggy valley where 30,000 men died, so Tokugawa Ieyasu could build an empire that lasted 268 years.